What's up, everybody? It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of All the Queen's Men, Season 4, Episode 12, Weak in the Knees, and Episode 13, U.N.I.T.Y. It's Unity. Y'all know I had to get in my Queen Latifah up in there. Y'all know how I feel about her. So the synopsis for this episode reads: the robbery at Eden further complicates Madam's life as her trial continues. This is true. Dime shares an uncomfortable secret, and we know she shares that with Blue, and it's about her being late with her monthly, if you know what I mean. And Midnight's extracurricular activities get him in trouble. And that was that whole fantasy thing that he was doing with Renee. He should have been careful because he was warned. So as I told you all in the last review, I'm playing catch up. So I'm doing a review for 2 episodes in this video. And right now all I'm doing is a breakdown or a summary of each episode. I'm not giving all of my detailed 2 cents that I usually give just because I am playing catch up. Although I might add a little bit here and there and try to make it a little funny. So I'm going to try to go character by character, but I might end up going scene by scene. I don't know. I got my notes written all over the place. So that's how I'm going to it's just going to flow. It's not going to be in order, just to let y'all know. It's going to be mixed up, but it's going to be everything that happened in the episode. Got it? Got it. So we got the courtroom scene with Madam, our fearless leader. She's on trial and she's not letting anything like a freaking murder charge get her down. She's got a key witness. G. Marks is on the stand testifying against her and spilling all the tea about things that she has done that he claims he knows until he said the streets are talking about it. They're like, Your Honor, could we call the streets to the stand? Because that's called hearsay. I thought that was funny. But then our dear madam decided to take her trial theatrics to a new level. And during his testimony, she decided to channel her inner Sharon Stone, y'all. You know what I mean? From Basic Instinct. You know that scene, the one where you cross your legs and uncross your legs and he could see up her dress or in her skirt from where he was sitting. I was cracking up. Poor Gene, he was so distracted, he forgot his own damn name, let alone his testimony. I mean, he was so hot and bothered that the DA had to say, sir, are you sure you have nothing else to say? I mean, he was seriously weak in the knees, all right. And it was not from a workout, y'all. I mean, honestly, I think he probably needed a moment in the juror's bathroom for a minute to relieve himself. I mean, Gene was jacked up from that testimony. Even when later on he saw Tony at Maddie B's, she said, how did it go? And he said, well, it didn't quite go the way I wanted it to go. I said, Lord help him. Also, during this episode, we see the fallout from the nightclub, Club Eden, getting robbed. And this is something that Madam really didn't need to be dealing with on top of her being on trial, you know. And one of her dancers, we have that Babyface has a leg injury that's acting up and he gets carried off stage like an uncle who drank too much at the family cookout. But the real drama is with Midnight, who gets himself into a situation and he's arrested because of his crazy extracurricular activities with Renee. She wanted to be his girlfriend, but she kept asking for these fantasy type relationship where he would rape her or whatever. But it went sideways because she was recording him. So basically, he seemed to be confusing fantasy with reality. And he must have thought he was the freaking main character in a romantic comedy, but when the cops came, they let him know that he was in a crime drama now. I said, oh my goodness. I said, he kept saying he could handle it himself, and he couldn't. That's the thing. I think he was a little bit too good at his job at selling fantasies. So he got so caught up in the performance, he forgot in the real world, you can't just write your own little happy ending. I mean, Midnight is a prime example of why you should keep your work life and your personal life separate. He's a professional at selling a fantasy, but a total amateur when it comes to living one without getting thrown in jail. So now we have Babyface. His body finally said no more in the middle of his steamy dance. His knees decided to go on a freaking permanent vacation. He actually collapsed and had to be carried off the stage like a groomsman who had a few too many at the open bar. You know, you've seen them. I swear his knees have had enough. They've been through a lot of squats, spins, and floor work. I'm telling you, they clearly are filing for early retirement and demanding a pension. you know, you know he is seriously jacked up. I'm telling y'all. I mean, the life as an exotic dancer, as he's finding out, is not for the faint of heart or the weak of knees. Babyface body is clearly filing for retirement benefits and is doing so in the most public way possible. Then we had this scene with Carla going to visit Madam, and she's letting her know that she wants Maddie B's and that she's going to contest their father's will. And Madam's like, "Why are you telling me? I don't give a F who runs it, blah, 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 blah." But we know Carla ain't playing. Carla gonna go and do what she said she gonna do, and Madam gave her her blessings. She didn't care. But did y'all notice that they have Carla wearing that low cut, like top blouse where you can see, remember Madam stabbed her in the chest? And it has the stitch mark or whatever where she got stabbed. I thought that was interesting that they keep showing that. You know, she had on two different tops, I think, where it was showing. So I found that interesting. Put it down in the comment section if y'all noticed that yourselves. Another scene that was shown was Tony going to call herself going to see Amp. I think she knew Amp wasn't there, so she saw Dime, and she said she was coming to bring a housewarming gift. I guess it was a gift card or something like that. And she talked to Dime a little bit about how Amp was as a child, because Dime asked, you know, little things like that. And she said, "You'll know one day when you have your own child." And it kind of made, you know, Dime think. Another scene with Dime is she's in the club and see this lady wearing her necklace. I don't know how she saw it from that far away, but she goes over there and gets in the girl's face and snatches it off her neck because the girl was like, "That's mine. My boyfriend bought it for me." And she's like, "Why is my information or my name inscribed on the back of it?" You know, and so she asked the lady where she got it from, and the lady said she got it from this barbershop called Cuts. They were selling the jewelry out of there. And she said, "Well, are you going to give me my money back for it?" She said, "You knew it was stolen when you bought it out of damn barber shop. You know they don't sell jewelry." And she Dime was like, "Hell no," walked away, went and told Madam what was going on. And then she, in another scene, she started bossing up, talking about, "Let's go get them. F them. They came in our house," and all this stuff. And Madam and Blue were like, "Okay, Dime is bossing up here, you know." So I thought that was a cute scene as well. And one of the last things was Madam and Blue going to Cuts to get that jewelry back, to get whatever back. They want to know who's responsible. And so the barber that was in there gave them the information, told them who they have to see. I think his name was Jamal, and that he'll be back the next day. So that was that for that episode. Now we're going to move on to episode 13. U.N.I.T.Y, that's a unity. And the synopsis for this episode reads, "The Eden employees are called to the stand. El Fuego's paranoia grows, as do Babyface's knee problems. And Blue and Madam discover the surprising truth behind the club robbery." Now, I got to tell y'all, I really got a kick out of this episode. And it's basically, I guess, the courtroom activity, the stuff that happened in the courtroom, because they called up all of those guys. The first one they called up was Midnight, and he comes in there with an orange jumpsuit on. And Madam's like, "What the freak happened to him? Why is he in an orange jumpsuit?" But what I don't get about him is that he has to go back in jail after the court cases, after the trial is over for that day. She bails him out, and he's still sitting there acting like he got it. You know, she's like, "Did you need my help? Why didn't you come to me?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you know, you had so much going on in my drama." She said, "Your family." She keeps telling them they're family, but they keep trying to do stuff on their own, and they're so stupid because they continuously mess up. But anyway, after Midnight spoke, they called up Doc. They called up Babyface. They called up Fuego. They called up Amp. They called up Dime. And then when it got to Tommy, Tommy's like, I don't work for Club Eden. I work for Madam. And he just became difficult. He wouldn't answer the questions because he's sitting there going, I didn't want to say nothing bad about you. She, he said that to Madam after they had him in contempt of court and they arrested him and stuff or whatever, put him in jail. She had to bail him out at the end. And then he was like, I didn't want to say nothing bad about you. She said, you didn't have to. You could have just followed what Lovey told you and plead the fifth. He said, I'll go study that now. I was just like, she's like, oh my God, I can't. Just go in the damn car, Tommy. So anyway, then they get Trouble on the stand. And she just knows Trouble's going to tell everything and spill the tea on what happened in Eden, Club Eden, because she fired her. But what ended up happening is, Madam spilled some coffee on her, whatever. They got a 10-minute recess. She went and told Smoke he need to find a way to get rid of her and get her off that stand because she's going to tell everything. So Madam goes back into the courtroom and they resume. And Trouble's up there lying about everything. She's like, oh, Madam didn't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. And then she was like, what happened is Detective Davis offered me money under the table to lie on Madam. And Detective Davis jumps up, you lying bitch. I was like, oh my God. Madam and Smoke had come in there. He was going to do something like shoot a dart at her to poison her. But Madam turned around and shook her head like, don't do it. And so Smoke left out of the courtroom. And Madam was shocked. She was just like, batting her eyes like she did at all of the employees. She was batting her eyes like, I just love you guys, and acting so innocent, and they're telling about she's a pillar of the community and all this stuff. It was too funny, and I just enjoyed that scene because the DA and Detective Davis were pissed. But then when Trouble left the courtroom, she ran into Detective Davis, who had been calling Lola, saying, call me back, I'm worried about you. But Detective Davis grabbed her and arrested her, saying that perjury on the stand is a felony, and she took her Trouble to jail. Now, can someone please tell me, why weren't Blue and Big D called to the stand? If you know the reason why, please put it down in the comment section, because Barbie J sure is confused about that. We also had a visit from Cadillac in this episode. That's right. He wanted to know, was all his girls behaving like sisters? And Carla was like, you know how I feel about her. And Madam said, I don't F with her and I never will. And he's like, that stops now. I want my girls to get along like sisters or something like that. And they were like, whatever, But we got that visit. He said he felt that his daughter needed him at this time right now, talking about Madam because she was going through her trial and stuff. But I was like, how did he just walk out without no, disguise on? Isn't he still supposed to be dead, everybody? Somebody put it down in the comment section because I really don't recall now. Then we have a scene with Dime and Amp. They lying together on the couch and they're discussing his mother and marriage. His mother's supposed to be going to AA with him or something like that. So they were talking about stuff like that. Then we see a scene with Tandy on the phone talking about that eminent domain for that property for Madam. And she's being serviced by Quincy. You know what I mean. He's going downtown on her while she's sitting there making boss moves on the phone. Then we see Naima. She shows up at Doc's apartment, walks inside saying, hi, Kenny. He's like, how do you know my name and how do you know where I live? And she's like, you forgot where I used to work? And then she accuses him of being the one who drugged her drink. And he's denying it and stuff, but we know it was him. We see Naima telling Detective Davis what she thinks happened, and Detective Davis getting mad. You almost mentioned me on the stand. And she said, I didn't mean to do that. I just need to know what happened. I need you to help me figure out what happened. I think he's the one who drugged me and stuff. And if you look at Detective Davis, you see she's getting jealous. She's actually getting jealous. Did he take you home? Did he take you home? She's acting like she don't really know who he is, but she is very familiar with who Doc is because she was over at his house More than once, twice, three times a lady. She was over there a lot of times getting serviced by him, pretending that she was trying to take him down when she was just enjoying the stroking. Next, we have El Fuego. His paranoia has reached a new peak. I'm telling y'all, with everything going on, he is becoming more and more unhinged. He is a nervous wreck. I'm telling y'all, and constantly looking over his shoulder, and he's convinced that everyone is watching him and that he's going to get caught for his shady dealings. I mean, at this point, El Fuego is like a poster child for a guilty conscience. He's so stressed out about getting caught. He's basically doing a cop's job for them. All they gonna have to do is wait for him to confess, because he did that once before, I think, didn't he? And he keeps running to Big D, and Big D is acting like it ain't no big deal. I guess the D is for deal. Big D don't give a doo, and he the one who did the shooting. All El Fuego did was help bury the bodies. Then we have this scene with Madam entering in the VIP locker room, and she's doing a check to see is everybody in shape and everything else. And then she tells them that she appreciates their testimony today. And to show her appreciation, she got them a new fluffer named Breeze. And so they all like, oh shoot, except for Amp and Fuego. Amp, is messing with Dime, so he ain't got time for that. And Fuego just is not into that type of thing. So he turned his back, and the rest of them, they were like, fine, I'm down with this. And if any of you don't know what a fluffer is, she's the one who comes in and, you know, fluffs up their ding dong to make them try to get them hard. She just was like, do y'all want to do it separately or you want them sucked together? I said, oh, excuse me, your mouth that big to get them all up in there? All right. I was like shocked. Anyway, we see a scene where Lovett comes into Madam's office with guess who? Trouble. She has bailed Trouble out, and Trouble's so excited. She said, I don't know what you pay this man, but it's worth every penny. And she said, I know it is. She said, but you know what's priceless, Trouble? And she said, what? She said, loyalty. And she said, you were ready to take a bid for me. She said, so I bailed you out. She said, and you will be rewarded. She told her to go home and get some rest. And Trouble hugs Lovett because Lovett will now be taking over her cases that that's a pending against her at the precinct. So Trouble thanks Madam and she leaves. And that's when Madam gets a call to come to the warehouse. You see, she and Blue teamed up to play detective and track down the women who robbed Eden. And their interrogation methods involved using a nail gun. Yes, that's what I said, a freaking nail gun to get the information out of them. They wanted to find out who was behind the robbery, and they wanted to get their money back and their customers' jewelry. And what better way to do that than with some industrial grade interrogation tactics? It was crazy. So these three women, at least these three, got beat up. And the one that seemed like she was in charge, she ended up telling that it was Gene Marks who paid them. And Madam was like, really? She couldn't believe it. But then before they left, Blue asked, are you the one who threw me in that trunk? And she said, it's not personal. It's just part of the job. And Blue said, yeah, okay. And shot her with the nail gun and said, it's not personal. It's just part of the job. So the episode went off like that. So y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode. And I will see y'all all in the next one. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's your girl Barbie J saying peace.